Hi, it's Joel Sharpton at The Rogues Life on Twitter and from meandthegeekpod.com, and I'm back again with my review of episode 3 of Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix. If you have not seen at least the first 3 episodes, then my friend, now is the time for you to stop watching this video. Thanks. Okay, if you're still with me, wow, we got to meet some big characters in this episode. First of all, we saw Wilson Fisk, of course, at the end, but more importantly than that, I think, the introduction of Ben Urich. Ben Urich, a super big figure in the comic book mythos, and particularly as it relates to Daredevil and his connections to the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, and eventually, I think a lot of the other superheroes will be involved with Ben. But right now, he's central to the unraveling of this organized crime story and who is the new figure coming into Hell's Kitchen and scaring off some of the former bad guys and consolidating power with some of the current bad guys. That is what Ben Urich is hot on the trail of, and he, I think, has bitten off more than he can chew, just as Matt Murdock has, and those stories begin to come together in this episode. But this episode starts with a huge fight in a bowling alley. Other than The Big Lebowski, maybe some of my favorite bowling alley scenes ever put on film here. A great scene as the character of Healy makes his entrance to the series, marches into the bowling alley, finds Prohas, a name that was mentioned in the previous episode from our cabal of nefarious business people behind He Who Must Not Be Named so far. Wilson Fisk, and we know that this guy was going to be an issue, and we knew that he was going to be dealt with, and here we see him dealt with, but not dealt with in a way that you might imagine, not a hit and run, not an assassination. This guy comes in, beats him senseless, and then as the police show up, what does he do? He puts his hand behind his head, and he asks for his lawyer. In this case, his lawyer being the soon-to-be retained Murdock and Nelson law firm. And so Foggy and Matt are brought into this. This is the payoff for the reference that we got last episode as Wilson Fisk told his associate, start a file about the Murdock and Nelson law firm. These guys might be useful eventually, and here they are being brought into the plot. We find out through the course of the episode that the reason they're useful is because they are a law firm beyond reproach. So at least for now, I don't think there's any connection to them being an issue for Kingpin or his potential aspirations for the city. This is just about, hey, we need a squeaky clean lawyer so that when this thing gets washed through the legal system, nobody will question it and they'll stop asking questions. Interesting that the machinations still all happen in the background. But another great episode as the relationships continue to get furthered between Foggy and Karen, for instance. We learn a little bit more about Matt and the ways that he can use his different abilities as those get further fleshed out. I really like, by the way that they're shooting, the way that he hears, the way that he smells, the way that he can sense different things. It's all hinted at with camera angles and then the sound design, and the combination is very affecting and very effective as well. So far, 3 episodes in, I am fascinated. I'm locked in 100%. After the action scene to close the second episode, and then the long character scene to close this episode, I love that there's not a format or a formula that the show is falling into yet, and yet they're finding a way to draw us into the narrative at the end of every episode so that it does continue to pull along. It feels serialized, even though this is made in a modern way so that you can really watch it all as one 13-hour film. It's just fascinating filmmaking. I'm really excited to see how Marvel grows in this particular art form too. So those are my thoughts on episode 3. If you enjoyed it, stick around. I'm sure you can find my reviews of the rest of the series right here on the YouTube channel as I go through the series. You watch them at your leisure and at your own pace, and that way you've got somebody to sort of talk through the different things that I noticed through the episode. Maybe you noticed some of those too. If you got something to add, hit me up in the comments below or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/meandthegeek. You can also subscribe to the page. That's right, to get all of the videos as we put them out. So until next time, I'm Me, and this is Me and the Geek.